Today, we are going to be going over all of Chris Watts's phone data. We have his phone data. And so I really wanted to go over whatever is in Discovery and then go through the calendar so that we can continue posting anything that we find in the Discovery or any other times or dates that we must include into our calendar. So that is what we'll be doing today. And yes, Indigo Violet, yes, we need justice, and then we can move on. Exactly. Hello from Switzerland. Hello, Karen. Yes, yes, yes. Kansas City. Nice. Hello. I hope that we are getting a lot of other viewers and different time zones here so that we can get everybody involved. I love seeing everybody. Hello, Tammy. Thank you to my moderator. And that reminds me, since we are doing this at a different time, I don't have my usual moderators. So, would anyone at this time, would anybody like to participate? Who wants to participate to be my moderator? Does anyone want to be my moderator? Anybody? Yeah, if anybody wants to be my moderator, please let me know. I'll definitely need more than just one moderator just to make sure that everything is nice and clean and peaceful in our chat. Yes, awesome. Thank you. Crime Deep Dive. Thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and add you as a moderator and then we will move on. Let's go ahead. All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. We have another volunteer. Perfect. Thank you, Tootsie Pop. Thank you, Tootsie Pop and Crime Deep Dive for moderating our chat. Nice. Yes, I know that we have, so we can't swear, Carolette. So basically, the only rules I have, very simple. Just no victim blaming. It's really that simple. No victim blaming. We can do, you know, obviously, when I mean clean, I don't mean let's keep it PG-13 and oh, oops, right? Everything that we say we have to watch. No, I'm not saying that at all. No, by, keeping it clean, I mean just keeping it respectful, right? Let's not be too vulgar and not get too out of control, right? Obviously, you know me, right? If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I'm a Marine and I was also in the Coast Guard. So I have a sailor's mouth. And just so you all know, I have to censor myself quite a lot on this platform, okay? So just so you know, I do have quite a sailor's mouth, but I do censor myself a lot on this platform, given that it's YouTube. But also, why would I be dropping an F bomb every single sentence, right? But it's no problem if you want to swear, just obviously don't overdo it because we are still on YouTube, and you know, that's what I mean. That's what I mean by keeping it clean and keeping it nice and respectful for everybody else as well, everybody else in the chat. And even if we disagree, this is the thing, we can disagree. I disagree with so many of you, and a lot of you disagree with me. Even my own subscribers, even my own members. Sometimes we just go back and forth and debate certain things. We don't have to agree on anything. If we agreed on everything, this would not be that fun. It would not be that fun to be going through this evidence with you all if we're all like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Let's move on, right? It would not be that fun. So we don't have to agree all the time, but we just have to be respectful. Let's just be respectful, even if we don't agree, even if we have some Nicole Kessinger, I don't know, some people who are on the fence, right, about Nicole Kessinger. It's fine. It's fine. We can have some people who are on the fence who don't really know, but it's just no victim blaming, nothing against Shanann Watts and the children, obviously, and just no Chris Watts love, no excessive, like, bleh, right? Like, oh, Chris Watts is innocent. Hashtag, I love Chris Watts. Like, obviously, none of that. You're in the wrong area. Like, find some other place to go. You're not going to convince anybody in this community, at least, that Chris Watts is innocent of anything. So those are basically the rules. So I'm really glad that you asked. Let's go ahead and just get those rules out of the way, right? So with that being said, thank you to my moderators, and Tammy Bates being one of my very first moderators knows what's going on in the chat and how to moderate. And so for all of my new moderators, yeah, just yeah, basically what I said. Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you so much. All right. Let's go ahead and get into this phone data. Okay. Now, we've been going through so many other things, videos, right? Footage. We've been going through the actual text messages and interviews. So now it's time to go through the actual phone data and read through everything, right? We're going to go through every single page of this phone data review that is in the discovery, and we're going to add anything that stands out that we think is important to the calendar. I also love that everything in here it's just so perfectly already dated and organized, and we're just going to very easily go through each and every date and go ahead and add. So, thank you all. And if this is your first time on my live stream as well, if you want to get my attention, I do like to go off on little tangents sometimes, and I'll just like talk and talk or make jokes and be like I'll just spaz out. So the best way to get my attention is just to do a bunch of craziness on the chat. Emojis, really bright colors. You can do the twister board. If you put up the twister board, I'll definitely see it, right? I'll see all of the different colors. I'll be like, what? Who wants my attention? So if you want to just add something and you want me to then say it out loud or something, go ahead and catch my attention that way. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start with the very beginning here. And we're going to start with item 40. Tootsie Pop, so the only reason I saw your chat right now, how about this? Hey, Rocks, is because I happen to be looking that way. But if I'm looking directly at the camera or if I'm looking here, my peripheral view will not see text, but I will see all of those colorful emojis. Yes. And so, like Belinda said, the twister board will definitely catch my attention, right? I'll see it in my peripherals, a bunch of colors, and I'll be like, what is that? Oh, it's so bright. Maybe it's just part of my ADHD. Who knows? Thanks, Tootsie Pop. That's a good question, though. That's a good question because other people have done that. They're like, hey, Rocks, do you not see me? Hello, right? They put the waving emoji as if it's like waving in my face or something. It's like, hello, do you see me? No, I'm sorry, I don't. I do see that though, Carolette. I do see that. That's pretty obvious. Even if I'm talking, I can see there. Yes, exactly. I see the colors and I see the little marsupials running. Hi from Australia. I see the little marsupials, kangaroos. All right. Let's continue. Okay, so we are looking at item 40, and we are seeing here the different devices that CBI, FBI, and the detectives took. And we see that they took Chris Watts's phone from work, his personal phone as well. And they also took Shanann's personal phone. Now, what really stood out from the very first one is this right here. There is no record right? There is no record of any contact between Watts and Trent Bolt and any of his devices. I thought it was interesting that they put this in here very specifically, that there is no contact between Trent Bolt and the devices, because there's also just no contact even between Chris Watts and Shanann. He deleted everything from his phone. So even my theory, right? My theory, my hypothesis, who knows, can it even be tested? Everything's been deleted. So, that Chris was talking to Trent Bolt, we'll never know because everything was deleted. And this one here, it says the number of text messages retained in this phone is meager at best. Watts clearly took steps to delete a vast number of records documenting his communication with others. Of course he did. We know this because Nicole Kessinger told him to delete everything. And it says here, for example, in July of 2018, there are only 3 messages remaining in the device. In all of July, only 3 messages in the device, and they occurred on the 29th. In contrast, there are 67 messages from January 2018. So this very clearly tells us that Chris Watts deleted everything at the request, or should I say, not even the request, right? At the order of Nicole Kessinger. She ordered him to delete everything. How interesting, right? This innocent mistress telling Chris Watts to delete everything. Okay, and so that's exactly what he did. Look at this. So only July 29th is the only text message that was apparently left behind. And it was on the 29th. Let's just go ahead and see which one possibly. Oh, look, it was a text message that was probably between them here, the sand dunes. That's the only thing that was left there. So it was during the sand dunes trip. That is the only text message that remained in Chris Watts's phone from July 29th. Or sorry, from the entire month of July. And then we go on into Shanann's phone. So Shanann, the vast number of messages exchanged between Watts and Shanann were actually on Shanann's phone. Rarely, if ever, any were found in Chris Watts's phone. So anything that we know about the conversation that Chris Watts had with Shanann, we know only because it's on her phone, not Chris Watts's phone. So this is my first question to you all. After going through this discovery on my own and before hopping on this live stream, I decided to have some questions because this one I think was my first question. Chris Watts annihilated his family. And then he was asked to delete his entire phone record, all of the text messages, everything. So what was the plan then? What do we think this was about? If Chris Watts reported his family missing that day and the police showed up and they're like, hey, I want to see your phone, Chris. What was Chris supposed to say? Everything in his phone was deleted. His entire conversation with his family, with his wife, all of it was deleted. So, what do we think the plan here was? Was was Chris actually believing that he was not going to be asked to hand over his phone? Is that why he deleted text messages? Because we know that he deleted everything, not only because Nicole Kessinger asked him to, obviously, but there's also so much incriminating information in those text messages alone. If Chris Watts reported his family missing and they checked his phone and they saw the text messages between him and Shanann, they would see that they were having they were not happy campers in the marriage. The police would know that Shanann and Chris were having problems. And so he deleted everything. He wiped it clean. But now that he has wiped it clean, wouldn't that still raise suspicions? So what do we think he was doing here? Did he not care about raising suspicions? He deleted everything anyway. Did he think he wouldn't get asked any questions? What do we think happened here? They can't recover the deleted messages. I don't think Chris Watts thought about anything. Yeah, you're right. Um, D. O'Rourke wanted everything wrapped up and ready for his next campaign. Absolutely. That's why it moved so fast. So much of this could happen, have been avoided had they just done proper questioning of NK. I agree. I thought he didn't delete his texts. He did. He did. He deleted everything. He deleted almost everything off his phone with the exception of a few lingering ones here and there, the ones that we have seen. Even, between Chris Watts and Nicole, the ones lingering between Nicole and then just a few lingering in Chris Watts's phone. Of course, they couldn't delete everything. Hi, Nithya. He thought about his mackerel, though. Yes. Why can't the FBI see the text messages? I thought they could read things, even if they were erased. I don't understand. Is anybody no? Well, they do have the resources. Absolutely. They do have the resources to look into it and retrieve any of the text messages, but they didn't. They just didn't. They retrieved whatever they could, and then the investigation stopped because Chris Watts confessed to murdering everybody. And so once he confessed, he was given a plea deal. And that's the plea deal that we have talked about on this channel. The plea deal meant that Chris Watts took all responsibility to himself, which meant that the entire investigation stopped. It halted right on its tracks. Everything stopped because once Chris says, I did everything, I'm the sole person who did everything, there was no reason to look into anybody else, Nicole Kessinger or Jim or any of the coworkers or any little weird things out there. That was it. It stopped, which is insane. It's still, I can't believe it. Yes, the confession. Yes, lights on, lights on, but no one is home. Yes. So here, I'm the thing I think that Chris and Nicole Kessinger were thinking, they would rather just chance it, right? I think they would rather risk suspicion rather than having the actual text messages because it's exactly what Nicole Kessinger did. She risked she risked oh my god, that word is so weird. She chanced being, I don't know, a suspect, right? She, rather than showing her text messages and leaving them on the phone, she deleted everything. And she didn't care if the police thought that that was suspicious or what, because that was better than actually showing the text messages. Because the text messages were so incriminating that she would rather just have them think, oh, that was weird that you deleted things, than for them to see the actual incriminating messages. And so I think the same thing happened here with Chris Watts. He did the same thing. He would rather delete everything, wipe his whole phone clean. Does it look suspicious? Absolutely, right? You wiped your whole phone clean. Your wife and your children are missing, and there are no text messages or calls between you and your wife. Yeah, that's weird. That's super suspicious. But it doesn't prove anything. Although, yes, it can be used as circumstantial evidence, it's not the same as looking through the text messages between Chris and Shanann talking about how he no longer wants the baby and I am not happy in this relationship anymore. I don't think we're compatible. All of those things are way more incriminating than just having a clean phone. It was a lie. Yes, it was a lie, blah, blah, blah. As him lying all the time. Both she and Chris had said if they had never met his family, if they had never met, his family would still be alive. Yes. Because I think that that's exactly true. Had they not met, his family would probably still be alive. Although I have said in the past that if another person very similar to Nicole Kessinger came into his life and also pressured him to get rid of his family, he would have still done it because he never really cared about them. All right, let's continue. So where we see Nicole Kessinger's phone, okay? With Nicole Kessinger's phone, very very telling. Look at this. The device is devoid of any calls, messages, photographs, or videos involving Chris Watts. Completely devoid. There is no listing for Watts, not even his phone number, in the device or the contact list. Or, sorry, in the device contact list. So, this is very telling. Again, we don't know what she deleted. But the fact that she deleted everything in and of itself is very suspicious. So even if we just saw this, that is circumstantial evidence to tell us that she was probably involved in something, which is why she deleted everything. But again, she would rather take that chance. She'd rather risk that than to leave everything in her phone for them to see, because that is obviously what would have gotten her sent straight to prison, in my opinion. Because everything was so terrible, apparently, that she had to delete her entire phone. Thank you, LA woman. Aw, thank you. I appreciate you. Hi, 760 Mantha. I hope I got that correct. Hello, welcome. Welcome to your first live. So, this is very telling, right? Again, we don't need to know what's in there. We know that what's in there is so bad that she deleted everything. Devoid. The device is devoid of calls. Again, we know how much she called Chris Watts. So why would it be devoid? Just looking at her phone records, we know that they were on the phone constantly. But then when you see her actual phone, the one that she gave to the police, she's like, "Here you go." Yes, Kevin, hold on. Let me just make sure that I deleted everything. Hold on. Hang on. Oh, well, don't look at that. No, hold on. Look over there. Yeah. Oh my God, is that a chicken? Yeah, look. Is that a chicken? Yeah, uh-huh. Okay. All right, here you go, Kevin. Yeah, everything is in there, I think, except for everything that I deleted. And then, of course, Kevin's like, "Oh, okay, that's fine. You deleted everything? It's okay. I don't blame you." Of course, Kevin. I don't blame you. You were mad at him, weren't you? I think I would delete everything off my phone too. If you broke my heart, Nicole. Please don't break my heart. I think Nicole's dad has some connections. I think so too. Something strange went on there. But let's move on from just looking through their phones, and at very first glance we see a bunch of deception. A lot of hidden messages, a lot of hidden phone calls, and hidden everything. Everything was deleted. Now we see here September 1st of 2017. Nicole Kessinger Googled Shanann Watts. Look at that. September of 2017, y'all. What was she doing Googling Shanann in 2017? She wasn't even working at Anadarko then. What was she doing? She knew about the family. Now, again, I think we all have our theories on how they met. I don't think that any of us have really reached a consensus on how they met. I don't think any of the channels either. We're all just throwing stuff at the wall when we're like, "How did they meet?" I don't know. Was it at the gym? Was it at the movies? Was it at the park? Was it Trent Bolt? Who knows? Who knows? What we do know is that Nicole Kessinger knew of their existence in 2017. How did she know? Who really knows? But she knew about them. We will never know if Chris knew about her in 2017. Sunlime, they met at the gym, I think. Where do you guys okay, let's I know a lot of you think the gym and there's another place, right? Some type of event, right? Like a workout event, some hospital thing I know some of you have mentioned. NK was stalking Shanann long before, I believe. Yeah, I think so. I think so too. But that's because, again, why though? Why? If Nicole Kessinger saw Chris Watts at the gym, why would she just start stalking him? This is where I haven't quite put my finger on any one theory, right? Or picked any one theory that makes the most sense because if they met at the gym and Nicole Kessinger saw him and was like, "Oh my god, he's so handsome. I love his fur. I love how all of it is just going away from the sides. We match in that aspect." And then she just became so obsessed with him that she started Googling him and Googling his whole family. And so I don't know. That's why I just haven't really I don't know. I'm not sure that I'm convinced that they met at the gym. I'd look up a guy before I'd look the wife up. Exactly. But here she is Googling Shanann Watts. Let's go ahead and move on to May 29th. So, May 29th, Shanann started filming in the kitchen. So, this is when we know that she filmed. She filmed it May 29th, but she published it in June. So, May 29th, Shanann started filming in the kitchen. She stepped in front of the camera briefly to show her shirt with the embossed words, Oops, we did it again. When she stepped out of the camera's view, Dieter, the family dog, ran off to welcome Watts, entering the home. As Watts walked into the kitchen, he halted mid stride and stared in Shanann's direction. His confused expression transformed into a grin, and he walked to her, saying, "We did it again." When Watts returned in view of the camera, he's holding a pregnancy test, and they discussed the positive result. Watts leaned in, kissed Shanann, and with a large grin, not really a grin at all. He looked like a monster, in my opinion. He says, "I guess when you want to, it happens." And I think that's exactly how he did it. Wow. Pink. Pink. Does that mean girl? No, idiot. It just means positive. It's a positive test result. 76 days later, Shanann and her unborn child, and Bella and Celeste, were murdered. All right, so May 29th. I think that this is a very important date, and it is a date that we should definitely include in our calendar just so that we know. Oh, and here it is. I thought I thought that we had not included it yet. We included it. It's right here. So baby video was filmed and now I remember this was Cosmo Bear. Cosmo Bear. Cosmo Bear is not on today because probably the time difference. But we have here baby video filmed. And the baby video was then published later on. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue with the rest of these text messages. All right. May 29th. Casey and Josh Rosenberg, friends, told Watts that they have completed and are submitting employment applications in Colorado. We've seen those text messages. I think was it Josh? Yes. Josh was asking Chris about places to work, and Chris is congratulating him and telling him, "Yeah, congrats." But also we see that Josh congratulates Chris on the baby. June 14th. Watts created nearly 200 contacts in his work phone. These included coworkers Shanann and Nikki Kessinger. That's what he had her under. Nikki Kessinger. You're so damn sexy. I'm surprised he didn't have her under as sexy empanada. SE. Imagine just the letters SE for sexy empanada. Ugh. And then he has what where sorry. Oh my gosh, where was I? Oh, here we are. Okay, Shanann and Nicole Kessinger, the mistress, and then we have Nicole Kessinger's phone number and all the information in here. So I think that's very interesting, right? That he created hundreds of contacts. I'm not sure what this wording means. Does it mean that he created hundreds of text messages? Right? Like contact between coworkers, between Shanann and between Nicole? Is this how I'm understanding this? Awesome, Tootsie Pop. I'm glad. Glad you're having fun. So I think that's what's going on. That's what they mean that he created hundreds of contacts by contacting people back and forth. And so that started June 14th. Let's go ahead and look at the calendar. June 14th is right here. 2 days, 2 days after the Nicole Kessinger work email. That is when he started creating tons of contacts, including Nikki Kessinger. He put Nikki Kessinger in his phone. Let's go ahead and add that because that's definitely one of the important details is when he added Nikki Kessinger to his phone. Chris Watts adds Nikki. I don't know why I keep saying it that way. Nikki Kessinger to his work phone. All right. Oh my goodness. Ohone. To the work ohone. I'm the worst typer, you guys. I can't type to save my life. Just so you know. A lot of the typing is actually done by my cat, Gia. Gia does all the typing for me sometimes. I'm joking. Of course. Okay. So Chris Watts added Nicole Kessinger to his work phone. Nikki. Oh, Nikki, I love you. I miss you. Where are you? Well, let's go ahead and move forward. June 17th, Watts told Tony Brown, his coworker, "Thanks again for covering this weekend. Last weekend with the kids meant a lot. I owe you one." Thanks, Lucky. Aw, thanks, Lucky. I hope your rats are doing okay. So here he's talking about the last weekend with the kids meant a lot. I owe you one on June 17th, meaning they are about to take off for the San Diego trip. And that's why he's like, "Thanks, man. Oh my God, thanks. You're awesome, dude. Thanks for taking care of my babies." Yeah. Little did the friend Tony Brown know that months later he would annihilate his whole family. So here we have it, June 17th. So June 17th, same day as thanks for covering this weekend. Last weekend with the kids. So it sounds like Chris was supposed to work or something this weekend, right? Is that what it sounds like to you? To you guys? Is that what it sounds like to you guys? Thanks for covering this weekend. So yeah, he was supposed to work. Chris Watts was supposed to work, but he said, "No, I don't want to work. Cover for me. Cover, please. I don't want to work this weekend. It's my last weekend with my kids before I take off to San Diego." And so he didn't work. All right. So it looks like Chris didn't work. Let's go ahead and add it because I think it's important. Chris Watts did not work the weekend. All right. Let's move on. All right. So now we have June 19th. All right. At 10:10 hours, so at 10 in the morning, Watts told Tony Brown, "I have to check out by 2 today. I have a doctor's appointment. If anything comes up later in the day, I will let you know." Okay, I have a doctor's appointment. I have to leave by 2, he said, on the 19th. Let's look at the 19th. Well, here it is. Well, all right. So Chris took off at 2 p.m. He took off at 2 p.m. Christopher Lee Watts, the liar, the scumbag, lied to his coworker and said, "I have to check out by 2 p.m. today because I have a doctor's appointment." Except we know that Chris Watts did not show up to the doctor's appointment. Okay. We are looking at June 19. Okay. June 19th, right here. Ta-da! June 19th. Chris Watts gave Shanann the tornado excuse. He missed the ultrasound, the first ultrasound of his baby boy, the one that he wanted. He missed it, and he gave Shanann the excuse of a tornado. But he got off work at 2 p.m. And I agree, Julie, that's because he was playing doctor with Nicole Kessinger. That is why he lied about being, I need to get off at 2 p.m. because I have a doctor's appointment. Yeah, a chiropractor. That's what he was going to need after his little outing with Nicole Kessinger. They were out playing Twister all night or all afternoon. Who knows, right? He got off at 2 p.m. So he was off work at 2 p.m. So from 3 to whatever time of the day, he was out playing Twister with Nicole Kessinger. Left arm on blue. Okay, but this arm is already on green. Okay, hold on, Nikki. Oh, you're so damn sexy. Okay, hold on. Oh. And then he snapped his spine or something. So that's why he needed to go to the hospital or a doctor's appointment or whatever lies he was telling his coworker. So, yeah, that's it. That's it. Twister. Okay. So I think, let me know what you guys think. Do we think that Park Day was actually on the 26th and not on the 19th? Chris Watts got off work at 2 p.m. Is it possible that Nicole Kessinger also got off work at 2 p.m. and they both met at the park? Yes, Tootsie Pop. He did send her photos of the tornado. Thanks for bringing that up. Let's go ahead and pull those up, shall we? Let's go ahead and pull them up. If I have them very easily available here. Let's see. Okay, I'm getting there. Here they are. Okay, sorry guys. It's like taking a little while. Here it is. All right. Here it is. Chris took these pics. These tornadoes are why he missed the ultrasound. He was in the field running from them. Their first ultrasound, Chris missed because he lied and he got off work at 2 p.m. not to go to the ultrasound, but to meet with Nicole Kessinger for the first time. I think that this is our proof, right? Here's some more photos. I think that we can say that that is probably the first time that they met. I want to say it's probably the first time that they kissed. And I think that that is when they went to the park. I do. I think that that's when they went to the park. I don't think it was here on the 26th, right before they left to San Diego, unless we have something that contradicts this. Too bad the tornadoes missed. Exactly. Yeah, they missed the potato head. Yes, he did, but was it fake pick? He snapped his brains. Yes, Chris did send a photo of a tornado. All right, let's go ahead and add that little detail here to the calendar. Chris Watts was off work. So off work at 2 p.m. And because he was off work at 2 p.m., I think that this was also the day of the park. What do you guys think? I think I'm going to go ahead and start a poll. When do you think that Chris Watts and NK went to the park? On the 19th, right? So the 19th would be the day that he got off work at 2 p.m. or on the 26th. Was it on the 26th, the day before Shanann left to North Carolina? I should say, or maybe, or around the 26th. All right. There we go. Don't you run home from a tornado? Absolutely. Yes, you do. You don't stay out in the field running away from them. Oh my God, there's a tornado coming. Oh my God, I'm going to hide right behind this little leaf. Am I safe behind this little leaf? Ah, oh my God, I guess I'm not. Oh, there's a tornado. Where should I hide? I'll hide behind this little blade of grass. Am I safe behind this little blade of grass? No. He was out here outrunning the tornadoes like he's some kind of Twister character, right? It's funny. Two words for Twister. Twister is what Chris and Nicole Kessinger would do, but also Twister, as in the movie Twister, about the tornadoes. So he's an expert on all kinds of twisters, apparently. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. Let's go ahead and continue with the rest of the phone data. So now we know that Chris Watts lied and he never showed up to the ultrasound, but he got off work at 2 p.m. to meet Nicole Kessinger. On the 22nd of June, Shanann and Watts travel to San Diego and attend the Thrive convention. And we know that. We already have that on our calendar right here. That is when they take off for Thrive. And here we go. Now we start seeing some activity. At 1500 hours, Watts created an entry in the contact list of his personal phone titled APC Health Safety Environmental. The phone number that he entered was Nikki. Oh, Nikki. I miss you, Nikki. He entered Nikki's phone number. APC Health Safety Environmental. Could you imagine? You look over, you grab your husband's phone, and you're like, "Oh, let me just order some DoorDash off of my husband's phone." And you're looking through, and then you see a text message come through, and it's from APC Health, Safety, Environmental. And you open it, and you're like, "Oh, I wonder, did Chris get his results from his hair loss? Is he gonna get some little implants?" And she clicks on it, and it's Nicole Kessinger. Can you imagine? There's nudes on there. You're like, "Huh?" So APC Health and Safety Environmental is sending you nudes now, husband? Really? Oh, okay. Oh, God. Wait, does APC Health Environmental, do they sell brown bathing suits? I don't understand. What's the whole point of this? Yeah. Could you imagine seeing APC Health Environmental coming up on your phone and there's this woman looking like a spider wearing brown bathing suits? And you're wondering, "Oh, I thought this was your test results for your hair transplant. Why is this cockroach sending you pictures?" Yeah. Well, now we know that's exactly what happened. He was out here changing the phone numbers and changing things on his phone while he was already in San Diego. Yeah, scumbag. At 3 p.m. So he did that at 3 p.m. Let's go ahead and add that. So June 22nd, this is the same day that he added Nicole Kessinger as APC Health. All right, let's go ahead and add her. Chris Watts adds APC APC Health as Nicole Kessinger's phone number. Let's see. I saw some Twister. All right. When did Chris buy NK that necklace? We are about to get there. That happened later. That actually happened in August, I believe, if I remember correctly. It is in the discovery, but it's later in the year, so in August. And I believe it's while he was in North Carolina. Okay, so that is when he added Nicole Kessinger. Great. What a scumbag. He added his little mistress, right? He's already meeting up with her, missing the very important ultrasound so that he can hang out with APC Health, Safety, Environmental. Oh, my new girlfriend, Health and Safety. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. At 1735, so at 5:35, in San Diego with the Rosenbergs, Shanann and Watts stayed at the Seaport Tower. And that evening, they ate at the restaurant named Season 52. Okay. Subsequent photographs taken over the next 2 days by this phone denote assorted coordinates around the San Diego Convention Center. All right. Okay, nothing strange there. I guess whatever, right? They're in San Diego. Great. On June 26th, Watts told Troy McCoy, his coworker, "I landed last night around 2 a.m. I'm around all day if you need to ask me something." Okay. McCoy replied, "Okay, cool, buddy. Get some rest." Watts responded, "LOL. You're crazy. Kids are out of control." What? All right, so Chris is letting his subordinate know, his coworker who Chris was in charge of, right? Because Chris was a lead coordinator, so he was in charge of Troy McCoy, and he tells him, "Hey, I'm here. Call me if you need me. Let me know if there's anything that you need. I'm here," right? And so he says, "Sure," but Chris responds with, "Lol, you're crazy. Kids are out of control." I don't know. Was he already cuckoo for Kessinger? I don't know because he's already responding like he's drunk or something. LOL, you're crazy. Why? Because he said, "Cool, buddy, get some rest." Oh, you're crazy. I can't get some rest. The kids are out of control. Okay, let's move on. June 27th, Shanann and her daughters flew to North Carolina where they stayed with the family for 42 days. Okay, so on June 27th, here it is, right? We have it on the calendar. June 27th, they flew back from San Diego and then immediately she flew to North Carolina. And look at this. We have other little things going on. We have the text message between Chris and Nicole Kessinger saying, "Oh my god. I I promise you I'm all about loyalty. I don't play no games unless it's role playing," says the dimwit, the potato head. Unless it's role playing. What is he role playing to be? Jason Momoa? Oh, I'm so swole. My name is Jason Momoa. That's probably what Nicole Kessinger wanted him to pretend to be. Let me close my eyes, Chris. Can you just tell me you're Jason Momoa? Yeah. Can you put a mop over your head? I'll just pretend that those are your curls. I'll pretend that that's your fur on your head. Yeah, I'll close my eyes. Oh, Jason. Oh, I love those curls. Oh, I love that hair. Who knows? Who knows what kind of role playing they're talking about? Oh my goodness. He jumps in the water, starts swimming around. He's in the tub. You want me to be Aquaman? Splashing around in the little tiny tub in Nicole Kessinger's apartment. And that's why when she went over and saw the big tub, she's like, "Oh my God, that's the tub I want. I want the big tub, Chris, so that you can go in there and swim like a little koi fish." Let's continue. So on June 26th, at 17:25 hours, Shanann's phone received a calendar alert with her flight information. Then we have it here. It is flight 137 from Denver to RDU. June 30th, Watts searched the internet for information on tickets to Bandimere Speedway. On the 30th, he wanted to go to Bandimere Speedway. Of course. Maybe Chris was supposed to be Chris Farley and Van down by the river. Yes. But look at him. He was looking up Bandimere Speedway to go out on a date with his girlfriend on June 30th. Let's go ahead and see what he was doing on June 30th right here. Oh, okay. See, this is why Nicole Kessinger is out of town. She's not around to tell him how handsome he is. And oh, look at those biceps, Chris. All brown. Love the skin. And so, because of that, because he didn't have his little girlfriend giving him all of the little ego boosts, he started looking up tickets to Bandimere Speedway to give himself his little boost of dopamine. Oh my God, I'm going to go out with my girlfriend. Here, let me look it up. Let me look up tickets, right? Because he's getting excited for his date with his girlfriend. She's out of town. And so that's what he's doing. He's Googling trip together, sand dunes plan, right? All of these text messages are coming through on the same day. And Chris is researching tickets for the Speedway. Oh my God. How romantic. How romantic. Should we include that one to the calendar? Bandimere Speedway. He was looking it up. It's not like they went. I don't know when they went. If anybody knows when they actually went to the Bandimere Speedway, please let me know. All right. But let's continue. July 4th. Okay, July 4th. Now we're moving into the month of July. Month of July, very, very busy month. We are going into the month that a bunch of crazy things started happening in Nicole Kessinger's phone logs and just overall. July 4th. Watts called Shanann and held a 19-minute conversation. This was at 9 a.m. For 19 minutes, Chris was on the phone with Shanann. Now, let's keep in mind, right, that this 19-minute call happened at Nicole Kessinger's apartment. Chris Watts called Shanann at Nicole Kessinger's apartment, which led to her meltdown. Nicole Kessinger had a meltdown this day. It's right here. And the meltdown was as the result of the phone call. Because as we know, after that phone call, Chris told Nicole Kessinger that he had to leave. He had to go back home. Nicole Kessinger apparently wasn't having it. And per Chris Watts, in the interview with him and the investigators, he told them that many times he had to talk Nicole Kessinger off the ledge. And this is one of those days that he had to do that because of the 19-minute conversation that Shanann had with Chris Watts, asking him, "Where the hell are you? Your kids are awake. Why aren't you talking to them?" Right? She's wanting attention from her husband. She's away in North Carolina. So she's calling him because the girls want to talk to him and he's nowhere to be found. Why? Because he's with Nicole Kessinger. And so those 19 minutes that he was on the phone with his wife, of course, it irritated Nicole Kessinger. It bothered her. It angered her to the point where she had a meltdown, and then she ended up at Chris Watts's home later that day, because it is also the same day that she came over and supposedly ate chicken and carrots. This is Chicken and Carrot Day, July 4th. Right. And so it's all making sense. It's all making sense. Look at this. We have all the evidence right in front of our eyes. All right, same day, July 4th. At 22:44 hours, Watts watched the Independence Day fireworks with Nick and Amanda Thayer, their friends, in Thornton. He apparently stopped by their home afterwards. His phone connected to their router. Ah, his phone connected to their router. Okay, so on the 4th, he ended up hanging out with Nick and Amanda Thayer at night. So this same day. All right, let's go ahead and look at these text messages from this day, the ones that were not deleted, right? The ones that were not deleted. Let's go ahead and see, because it's saying pulled up to your place, which I just want to make sure that we have all of our facts straight. Okay, here we go. All right. So on the same day, on the 4th, we have these text messages too. And this is at 6:53 p.m. Okay, so that makes sense. Chris Watts was not hanging out with her. He was watching the fireworks with Nick and Amanda Thayer. At the same time, he was texting Nicole Kessinger these stupid things. "I'm drenched right now. Lol. Like to see you all wet in the rain." How corny. How corny. This is such high school behavior. And then the same day at 6:59 p.m. "My signal sucks so bad here. It might take a while to download your pictures." Oh, crushed tacos, says Chris. "Oh, I crushed tacos." And then he goes on to say whatever nonsense he says after that. Where is it? Um Yeah, so he crushed tacos and whatever. And then here we have again at 7:30. I had a protein shake before I left. I thought there would be more here. I'm resisting the funnel cakes and tater twists. LOL. Oh, the fatty. He's telling Nicole Kessinger, I don't want to gain any more weight because you called me a fatty. And so I'm resisting the funnel cakes and the tater twits. Twits. The tater twits. He's a twit, right? But he's over here resisting the tater twists. Oh, I don't want to eat it anymore. No, you said I was gaining a few pounds. So he's resisting it. And then at 10:30 p.m., I'm stopped in traffic too. 112, lots of people here. So now we're seeing their conversation. And now he says, just pulled up to your place. So after he was done with Amanda and Nick Thayer watching the fireworks, he pulled up at Nicole Kessinger's place at 11 p.m. All right, so at 11 p.m., that's what he did. So Chris Watts started his weight loss journey that day. And then he also went to see the fireworks. I think it's important to add fireworks to this day. So, oh my goodness, what happened? Okay, here he goes. Okay, so let's go ahead and add fireworks. So Chris Watts, fireworks with his friend Nick and Amanda Thayer. Very busy. Look at that. July 4th. Lots of things going on. Is Amanda Thayer NK's sister? No, Amanda Thayer is Shanann Watts' friend. Oh, sorry. Yes, it was already answered. Amanda Thayer is Shanann. Well, they were actually mutual friends to Chris and Shanann. And Nick is was a very close friend of Chris. Okay, let's continue. Now here, we have July 5th. July 5th at 2 p.m., so at 2:24, Shanann called Watts and held a 2.5-minute conversation on July 5th. So let's go ahead and look at the calendar. On July 5th, 2-minute conversation. All right. Mm, we'll think about adding it. I don't know. Should we add it? I don't think it's really all that important, but who knows? Who knows? A 2.5-minute conversation could have been something very detrimental to Nicole Kessinger. At 1837, Watts called Shanann and held a 13-minute conversation. She called him back moments later and held a 7-minute conversation. All right, that's on July 5th. July 6th, at 7:48 in the morning, Josh Rosenberg asked Watts how bachelor life was going. Chris replied that he was exercising a lot and working extra weekend shifts at the same time. Or sorry, and the time was going by fast. So he was exercising a lot and working extra weekend shifts. And we know that that's what happened because obviously we've seen it in the text messages. And let's go ahead and see this was on this was on the 6th. And so when we see the calendar on the 6th, right here, July 6th. And we have seen some of those text messages too, where he does say that to his friend. He's like, yeah, I'm just working out. Time is going by so fast. All I do is get swole. I'm working on my micros and my macros and my micros. All of the M's and all of the crows. All of them. I'm so busy. Of course, he was lying. Okay. And let's go ahead and move on. Now we have at 9:57 At 9:57, Shanann calls Chris and they held a 3-minute conversation. She called back shortly afterward and they held a 4-minute conversation. All right, so that was on July 6th. Chris calls Shanann and they held an 11-minute conversation. Then Shanann calls Christopher again. They held a 3-minute conversation throughout the day. So it looks like they've been calling back and forth, holding very short conversations in between. At 18:52, Shanann told Watts to call Vivint before I flip. This is an important one. This is an important one. And I'm looking at the chat. Tiger, that was when they visited the Bandamere Speedway rocks. When? When? Tiger. Okay, when was it that they visited the Bandamere Speedway? So that we can go ahead and add it to the calendar. All right, what were we saying about Amanda? Oh, we have questions about Amanda. We were talking about Amanda Thayer earlier because Amanda and Nick and Amanda showed up. So right here. So we only mentioned Nick and Amanda because Christopher. Because Chris Watts went to hang out with Nick and Amanda on fireworks night. So July 4th, they went out to watch the Independence Day fireworks together. Okay, but back to the Bandamere Speedway. July 21st. There it is, July 21st. All right. July 21st, right here. So July 21st is Bandamere Speedway Day. All right, Bandamere Speedway. Perfect. All right, July 21st, we have the 1-minute phone call, Morrison. That makes sense. I love it. See, this is why we're doing this. I absolutely love this. I'm so glad that we're doing this. Yes, July 21st. And that makes absolute sense because Bandamere Speedway is near Morrison. That's exactly where Bandamere Speedway is. And that's why it looks like Chris called Nicole Kessinger for 1 minute because he was probably parking the car and saying, "Hey, I parked the car. Where are you, my sexy empanada?" And Nicole Kessinger's like, "I'm right here. I'm right here, Chris." And Chris turns around and goes, "Oh, is that you? Oh, sorry, no, that's just a dumpster. No, that's a dumpster. That's not you. Nicole, where are you? Is that you? Oh, no, that's just a rock full of cat shit. That's not you. Nicole." And so that phone call lasted for 1 minute. And while we were building this calendar, we thought that that's when the Morrison hike happened, but it looks like that is not when it happened. So let's go ahead and delete that one. It was actually the Bandamere Speedway. And just to double check, let's go ahead and pull up the Bandamere Speedway. All right, so we have Bandamere Speedway here. Let's see. And here we have it. Here we have it. Bandamere Speedway is in Lakewood, Colorado. Exactly. So it's out in Morrison. So now we have it. Thank you for that. Thank you for that bit of information. All right. And now we know that that's what the phone call was also about. It was just either Chris or Nicole Kessinger looking for each other. Where are you? I don't see you. Hello? And so we saw that conversation come in. But here we are getting into the Vivint. This is important, okay? This was on July 6th. On July 6th is when Shanann tells Chris to call Vivint before I flip, she says. They are sending a sensor for the garage door. I tried moving it like they said, and it didn't work, is what Chris told her. They're sending a sensor for the garage door. I tried moving it like they said, and it didn't work. Now, the Vivint is very important because Shanann was not able to see anything that was happening in her home while she was in North Carolina because the Vivint wasn't working. What a coincidence, right? We know that Chris Watts was on the phone with Vivint for a very long time. What was he doing? My guess is that Chris was messing with the camera and taking all kinds of permissions and access away from Shanann. That's what he was doing. He was on Vivint making sure that whatever notifications Shanann was getting to her phone, that she wasn't getting them anymore. He took her off everything so that she wouldn't see the activity at the house, so that she wouldn't see when Nicole Kessinger was leaving, coming in, or seeing that Chris wasn't even coming home. And so this was a very important thing, I think, in all of the discovery, is that on July 6th, she did ask for Chris Watts to call Vivint. Let's go ahead and add that to our calendar. All right, and we're going to put here SR is for Shanann Rushek. Is that how you pronounce her name? Rushek? Shanann tells Chris to call Vivint. All right, let's just go ahead and make this shorter so that it just looks better. All right, so Shanann to Chris, call Vivint. Okay. Why isn't this working? Oh, oops. I put it in the wrong area. Duh. Technology. All right, there we go. Okay. Here we go. July 6th, Shanann tells Chris to call Vivint. So, very interesting, right? That Chris was doing everything in his power to take access away from Shanann. She had no idea what was going on at her home because Chris was out here hiding all of the access from her. July 7th, Kessinger calls Watts and held nearly a 2-minute conversation. The first phone call between the two found on his phone. This is the first phone call between the two that was found on his phone. And as we know, Nicole Kessinger's phone records, the access that we have, only goes as far back as July 14th. So this is very important. It's a very important piece of information that we have because it's the first known time that we know, right, that Chris called Nicole Kessinger and that they spoke on the phone for the first time is July 7th. Of course, we know that that's probably not the case. It wasn't July 7th, but that is the first time that the phone call pops up in his phone. He probably forgot to delete it. And so here we're going to go ahead and add that this is the first phone call. Chris Watts and NK first call on his phone. I'm loving this calendar. Thanks, Demented Doll. I love the name. I love that name, Demented Doll 666. It's perfect. Erikisa just clocked out from work. Awesome. Yes, that's exciting. It's always great when you clock off from work. You're like, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here. And then somebody calls you. They're like, nope, I'm off. I'm already off the clock. Talk to me tomorrow. Oh, sorry. It's the weekend, isn't it? I guess it's gonna have to wait till Monday. Bye. That's exactly what happens when you clock out. You're done. You're done with work. Okay, let's continue. So we added the first phone call. Great. And now we see here at 5 a.m., Shanann calls Chris and they held a 5-minute conversation. Shanann calls him again. They held a 3-minute conversation. And then here we see it. Here we are. On July 7th, Chris Watts's phone connected with the router at the Rusty Bucket restaurant. On July 7th. Perfect. July 7th. Look at that. The same day that they talked on the phone is also the same day that they went out on to the restaurant at the Rusty Bucket. That's where he got that ridiculous shirt. The one that we see him wearing. Oh, the Rusty Bucket. And I think now we know the same day that they went on the hike. Oh my goodness. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that picture. Let's go ahead and pull up the photos, guys. Here it is, right here. First one. Their faces haunt me. It haunts my computer. Sometimes my computer stops working because they're like, I can't handle these faces of these demons that you keep putting on the screen. Right here. Look at that. Is that the same thing? Rusty Johnson's and Rusty Bucket? Could it be the same day? Is it possible? Is the Rusty Bucket and Rusty Johnson's the same thing? Do we know? Pawn it, man. I've been with a narcissist. They're absolutely blank inside. Yes, they are. They are an empty shell. So yeah, what do we think about this picture? Is it the same thing? Is this what that means? Did he get this t-shirt at the Rusty Bucket or whatever? He's like, "Oh my god, I've never been to this restaurant before. Let me order a souvenir. Yeah, can I have my regular burger and my everything? Yeah, but can I also order an extra small shirt, please, for men? Oh, you don't have extra small for men's? Really? Oh, okay. Well, can I get an extra large in babies then? Oh, you don't have that either? Okay. Well, what's the biggest size that you have in the smallest size? Oh, a medium? Sorry, no, I don't fit in a medium. No, it needs to be really tight so that my biceps can look really big and firm. Yeah, that's why I only wear extra small in men's or a large in boys. What about women's? Do you have a small in women's? I'll make that work. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can make that work. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine if it flares out at the bottom. It's okay. I'll just tuck it in. It's fine. At least it makes my biceps look nice. Yeah. Is that what happened? That's where he bought this shirt so that he could impress Nicole Kessinger. Extra small would be Chris Watts's undershorts. Yes. Extra medium. Yes. Yeah, can I get an extra medium, please? 2X, yes. 2XM. Yes. I'm only extra medium on one side of my body. The other side is just medium. It's because he works out abnormally. He doesn't, when he works out and he pumps, right? He's pumping iron. He goes 1, 2, 3. He starts with his right hand, which is his dominant hand. And then he goes and lifts with his left hand and he's like, "Oh, this is weak." And he can only do 3. So he's like, "Oh, I only did 3 on this arm, but I did 15 on this one." So that's how he ends up like this. Look at me, I'm strong. Of course, if this were an animation, I would animate him with one big arm and one tiny little arm because that's how he works out. Let's continue. All right, so now he's at the Rusty Bucket restaurant. And then Watts's phone logged the coordinates of the Orchard Town Center, the movies. And it was confirmed that this was the Rusty Bucket location. So they went to the Orchard that same night. Watts connected to a router at the Crushed Red restaurant. Okay. All right. So it looks like they were just walking around, hanging out, walking around, doing whatever, talking, flirting. Oh, I just ate. How was your burger? My burger was so good. How's your t-shirt? Oh, I love it. It's cotton. Yeah. It's going to shrink. Hopefully, I put it in the dryer and it's going to shrink so it can be the extra, extra small that I requested. July 8th. July 8th. Watts offered an excuse for not calling Shanann the night before. I'm sorry, Boo, Chris said. I fell asleep as soon as I got home. BS. The heat killed me yesterday. I love you so much. That's way more than I've seen him text anything else. All the other texts that I've seen between Chris Watts and Shanann were very short. This is the most I've seen him text. I love you so much. With 3 exclamation points. That's a lot. That happened on July 8th. At 5 in the morning. Look at that, 5 in the morning. So July 8th, let's just go ahead and look. Look at this. So he was at Nicole Kessinger's house when he's texting his wife, Shanann, telling her, oh, I love you. I love you so much. Yeah. As he's waking up next to Nicole Kessinger. All right. So now we go into later in the day. Chris and Shanann talk for 6 minutes, and then they talk later on for 22 minutes. And then we move on to July 9th. Shanann and Chris talk for 10 minutes on July 9th. Let's go ahead and look at July 9th. 10 minutes. So July 9th is also Nutgate. And it's also the "you're so considerate" text message that we see from Nicole Kessinger to Chris Watts. Now, what is he being considerate about? Who knows? We probably will never know. But we can speculate. And then later in the day, Shanann and Watts speak for 14 minutes. And then at 17:24, Chris made an unanswered call to Shanann, and she called him back immediately. They talked for 9 minutes. At 20:16, Shanann discussed how Watts' mother, here we go. Shanann talked to Chris and discussed how Cindy gave Celeste ice cream with nuts in the ingredients. Shanann felt that this was done in defiance of Shanann's warnings of Celeste's food allergies. Shanann told Watts, you should call your dad and tell him you did not appreciate your mom putting your daughter at risk today, nor do you like that she teased our girls. You should also say that you don't appreciate her saying they have to learn that they can't always get what they want. Referring to the ice cream. They are 2 and 4. So, understandably, Shanann is upset that Cindy gave some nut ice cream to Cece, knowing that she has a nut allergy. And so we've seen that text message between Shanann and Chris, where Shanann tells Chris to do something about it. Talk to your parents. They're out of control. They are unhinged. And your mom is giving nuts to Cece. Right? So we see that happening this day. Chris replied, very short, says, I'll call him and I'll tell him what I think about this. It's not effing cool at all because it is the kids. I will set this right, says the liar. He's not going to set anything right. Of course not. This was on July 9th, the same day of the "you're so considerate" text message between Nicole and Chris. So we know that he's not going to take care of anything at all. He's too busy with Nicole Kessinger right now. So we move on to July 10th. July 10th, Shanann calls Chris, held an 8-minute conversation. Shanann asked Chris, "Are you okay? It's like you don't want to talk. I keep trying to talk and I had to dig it out of you." Chris says, "I'm fine, baby. The last few days at work have put a lot of responsibility on me with new people. I didn't mean to seem short, boo. I love you to the moon and back." With a little heart and a kissy face emoji. So July 10th is when when Shanann began to be suspicious of something. Let's go ahead and add that because it's a very important date. This is when Shanann began to suspect. And not saying that she began to suspect anything was wrong with Chris, as far as what she knew later on, right? Fast forward into August. What I'm saying is that this is the first time that we notice, from Shanann at least, that she's noticing that Chris is a little distant or a little weird. So that is why we're going to go ahead and add that she starts to suspect something. Even though she probably didn't suspect anything, that's when she noticed that Chris was weird. All right. So let's just go ahead and add that she started to suspect. And yeah, look at that. Very almost immediately, look at this. Shanann left for North Carolina on the 27th. And look at this. Almost 2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, she's already suspecting that there's something up with Chris via text message. This is how much she knows her husband. She knows that there's something up with him because he's being weird in his text messages. Again, she wasn't spending any time with him. And she was able to tell that there was something off with him just based on the text messages and how sporadic and spread out they were. Shanann responded, "I miss you. I feel like you just want to work out and run." Chris claimed running helps clear my head. It's a way to free it all. Shanann didn't buy the excuse. "I wish my husband wanted to talk to me." Yeah, she didn't buy that excuse. She knew that it was a lie. Chris is here telling Shanann that the reason he's not talking to her is because he's out running. "Oh, I'm running. Yeah, I'm training for that marathon that I haven't signed up for. You remember the one I haven't told you about?" Yeah. "Oh, you don't remember? That's because I didn't tell you about it." "Yeah, that's because I haven't even signed up for it. Actually, I didn't even think about signing up for a marathon until I just said it right now." Yeah. But anyway, that's what I'm training for. And of course, Shanann didn't buy it. She didn't buy it. She knows him. She's like, "What? I wish you would talk to me." July 11th. Shanann called Chris and held a 7-minute conversation. Then they talked for 13 minutes. And on July 12th, Shanann made 2 unanswered calls to Chris. Look at what we're seeing here. Shanann is starting to suspect something is up. On July 12th, 2 unanswered calls to Chris. July 12th is a Thursday. So at whatever time this was, right? At 4:46, he should have answered the phone, but he didn't answer it. This is the time that Chris is getting up to go to work, right? Nini, the 35th annual Great Twister Marathon. Yeah, so look at this. Yeah, look at this, right? So we're seeing that Chris isn't answering the phone in the morning, likely because at 4:46 in the morning on Thursday, He was at Nicole Kessinger's house. And he knows how she reacted last time that he answered the phone and talked to Shanann in front of Nicole Kessinger. And so, of course, he's going to miss the call, but he's getting ready to go to work. He's getting ready to go to work, but he missed Shanann's phone call. Now, let's go ahead and compare. All right. Let's go ahead and compare now that we have some. Oh, and again, we can't. And this is the problem that we run into is that every time we look at Nicole Kessinger's phone logs, they start on the 14th. So we can't compare them, unfortunately, guys. We can't see if he was on the phone with Nicole or if he was actually at her place. My guess is he was at her place, and that's why he didn't answer. But what do you guys think? All right. And we went ahead and just ended the poll. So the question was, when do you think that Chris Watts and NK went to the park? And 90% of you, so 67 votes total, 90% of you said on the 19th. So the day that he took off early at 2 p.m. is when we believe that he went to the park. Perfect. I think so too. I think we have now, at least we have the evidence to pinpoint them and put them at that location on that date. Hello. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Michelle G. Yeah, it makes me sick how he allowed to have his wife and pictures up in the prison cell. You should not be allowed pictures of your victims in your cell. Yeah, and most inmates are not allowed photos of their victims. I don't know why Chris Watts is allowed to have photos of his victims. They were his children, but he relinquished that title when he murdered them. So they are no longer his children. They are his victims. And he shouldn't have photos of them in his prison cell. Carolette, oh no, the poll wasn't visible to me. Oh no. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. No worries. We'll put up more polls. Chris's mom was jealous of his wife, full stop. Oh, 100%. Everyone was jealous of Shanann. All right, let's continue. All right, so we are here. We are at, sorry, where were we? Okay, July 12th. So the two unanswered calls and then a 10-minute conversation later that day. So look at this. So he got up to go to work and now he calls Shanann, probably because he already left Nicole Kessinger's apartment. He's calling her. On July 13th, at the same time, right, at around 5 in the morning, Watts called Shanann and held a 1-minute conversation. This is on July 13th. Let's go ahead and look at the calendar. Friday. So it looks like he got up that morning, got ready for work, and he called Shanann. And they spoke for only 1 minute. And then they called back. They talked for 4 minutes. And then look at this. Watts logged into his Facebook. So Chris logged into his Facebook on July 13th. Let's go ahead and add that because Facebook is one of those important pieces of information because Chris then went in and deleted his Facebook, probably because Nicole Kessinger told him to. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that Chris Watts logged into his Facebook. Logged into Facebook. All right. All right, look at this. Chris Watts logged into his Facebook, and then the next day is when we have Shanann publishing that photo of baby Nico's outfit. All right. And so we move on. Same day. Watts called Shanann and they held an 8-minute conversation. He called her back moments later and they held a 12-minute conversation. On July 14th, Kessinger and Watts visited the Mustang Museum in Boulder. Here we go, you guys. This is where Nicole Kessinger got her Vin Diesel heads at 80% off. This is where she got all of her home decor. Chris, look at all of these Vin Diesel heads. Isn't it such a deal? Should I get one of each? Should I get two of each, maybe? Who knows? It's really nice decor, for our apartment. The one that you're going to get for me when we move in together. So that's when it happened. So the Mustang Museum, the Vin Diesel decor, head decor, was on July 14th. Let's go ahead and add that to the calendar. Okay. So now we are starting. See, this is why this is important. Nicole Kessinger pinged on the day that they went to the Mustang Museum because she went to pick him up. She went to pick him up. They went to the Mustang Museum on the same day that Shanann posted the photo of baby Nico's outfit. And it's also, what is this? Chris Watts search. Oh, right. We also have a search. Okay. And then we have Nicole Kessinger pinging. See, this is why we're doing this. That makes sense now. Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts were hanging out at the Boulder Museum together. And she pinged because she was there to pick him up. She probably stopped by and was like, hey, let's go. Let's go to the museum or whatever. Called him. Hey, I'm here. Right? This is July 14th. So July 14th is the first time that we have actual phone calls and phone logs from Nicole Kessinger. And this is where we see it. It's right here. At 10 in the morning. Now, did they go to the museum at 10 in the morning? It looks like she called him at 10 in the morning. And then she called him again at 3:37 p.m. So it looks like they weren't. Oh, you probably can't see that. They weren't at the museum at this time. And look at this. 4:02 p.m. She called him again. 44 minutes. So what this tells me is they went to the museum after 4 p.m. But Nicole Kessinger was still pinging in Frederick at 10 a.m. So it's still very possible that Nicole Kessinger was stalking Chris after seeing the baby Nico outfit photo on Shanann's Facebook. It's very possible that Nicole drove herself to Chris Watts's house and then called him, then started making the plans to go and see cars together at the Mustang Museum. But the ping, as we see it based on her own phone calls, right? We are comparing the ping to the phone calls. The ping happened at 10 in the morning. So it's very unlikely that she pinged because she was picking him up. But what do you guys think? Did she ping at 10:24 in the morning to pick him up to go to the Mustang Museum? Because if that's the case, why are they talking on the phone at 3:34? And then again at 4:02? Unless they went to the museum between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m.? What do we think is happening here? Do you guys think Shanann left for that long because they were fighting a lot? That's a good question, Tootsie Pop. I don't think so. I think that she just went on vacation because she thought that she could. She thought that she was safe in her marriage and in her relationship with Chris, and she thought that she could just take off for 5 or 6 weeks and be back in North Carolina with just her and the girls. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Tootsie, no. She told friends that they were all over each other before she left. She wanted family time before she got more pregnant and couldn't fly. Yeah, that's a very good point, Tommy's girl. And yes, that's very true. We do see some of Shanann's text messages that show that she is talking about that. She's talking about all of the time that she was spending with Chris before she left, and that they were all over each other actually. So thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, back to this here. Do we think that the Frederick Ping had to do with her picking up Chris so that they can go to the Mustang Museum together at 10 in the morning? Or was she stalking Chris because she saw that Shanann posted a photo of baby Nico's outfit that same day? This one right here. Bought baby Watt's first outfit was posted. And then at 10 in the morning, Nicole Kessinger is pinging in Frederick, Colorado. Let's continue. Kessinger called Chris and held a nearly 5-minute conversation. Yes, that we can see. We can finally see these conversations. It's right here. It's a 5-minute conversation right here. All right, so now we can see that. And then Watts logged into his Facebook again. So on the 14th, he logged into his Facebook again, which means that Chris saw the photo at 10 p.m. Or sorry, no, not at 10 p.m., at 10 a.m. At 10:19 hours, so at 10 a.m., Chris Watts logged into his Facebook. So it's possible that Chris logged into his Facebook and he saw the photo that Shanann posted of the baby, right? The baby clothes. He logged in. Who knows when this was published on Facebook? If anybody knows, that would be great to know so that we can add it to the calendar. But is it possible she posted it and then Chris saw it and then Kessinger, because she's stalking Shanann's Facebook, she also saw it? And then she stalked Chris and Frederick, and then she decided, hey, I'm going to get your mind off of this baby that is on the way. Let me take you out to the Fast and Furious Museum, Chris. And then she started that date. She took him out on that date just to get his mind off of it. Who knows? What do you guys think? But here we are. Chris logged in to the Facebook. So let's go ahead and add that as well. That's definitely important here. Chris Watts logged Facebook. All right. So now we have Chris logging into Facebook on the 13th of July and on the 14th. Okay. Now we have Watts took photographs of assorted vehicles. Metadata proved that he was at Shelby American Collection in Boulder. Shanann made 4 unanswered calls to Chris from 12:46, so from noon till 1 p.m., 4 unanswered calls. From noon to 1 p.m., 4 unanswered calls. Now, is it possible that that's when they were hanging out? That's when Nicole Kessinger and Chris were hanging out, and that's why Chris didn't answer the phone calls? But look at this. He's also on the phone with Nicole Kessinger. So what's going on here? All right. Watts answered her 5th call and held a 1.5 minute conversation. So Chris answered Shanann's phone call finally, the 5th one, and they talked for 1.5 minutes. And then, there we go, Watts searched the internet for 24 Carat Bistro and the restaurant's menu. So that's the search that we have here, which I should probably reword this so that we don't get confused. So he searched the bistro. All right, there we go. Chris searched the bistro right after he got off the phone with Shanann. Shanann continued to make unanswered calls. Chris doesn't answer. Kessinger called Watts and they talked for 5 minutes. Kessinger called Watts again and they held a 43-minute conversation, which this is what we see here, right? It is right here, 44 minutes. Okay. And then from 1626 to 17, during that call and just afterwards, Shanann made 4 more unanswered calls to Chris Watts. So while Nicole Kessinger and Chris were yapping on the phone for 44 minutes, Shanann was calling him. And that's why he was not answering her phone calls. All 4 of them, all 4 phone calls went unanswered because he was too busy talking to Nicole Kessinger about what? The Vin Diesel heads? Oh, I got such a good deal on it, Chris. You want me to return them all? Yeah, Nikki. I only have 2 gift cards left. Oh, Chris. They were 80% off, my love. That's all I ask for. You know, you can't get me those Dead Sea Scrolls that I wanted. At least give me the Vin Diesel heads. And that's how she ended up with the Vin Diesel heads. Let's continue. We're at 1723 now. Watts called Shanann and they held a 10-minute call. And then Watts spent nearly 2 hours online researching Dave Bunk Minerals. Dave Bunk Minerals. Chris Watts is looking for minerals. Look at that. A mineral dealer located in Arvada. Dioptase, a translucent emerald colored mineral. Look, he's looking for more little gifts to give to his little mistress. Oh, do you want the Dead Sea Scrolls? Okay, Nicole, let me look them up. Oh, those are at a museum. I don't think I can get those, but here, let me look up Dioptase. Yeah, I can get you that mineral though. Yeah, it's only $20. So that's what he was doing. He was looking up minerals for his girlfriend. Oh, for the witch. Get me the minerals, Chris. I want to make you fall in love with me. And here he is doing the research. Okay, yeah. You need a potion? I'm sorry. Oh, you want me to Google the ingredients to the love potion? Okay, yeah. Yeah, how do you spell love again? L-U-V? Oh, okay. Of course, Chris doesn't know what love is, so he doesn't even know how to spell it. But he's over here helping Nicole Kessinger how to make the love potion that he's going to take. Poison me, Nicole. It's okay. You're sexy empanada. You can do whatever you want with my body. The idiot. So he's looking up emeralds to give to his girlfriend. So pathetic. He thinks he's romantic. What can I buy? What can I give to my girlfriend that isn't something that is so generic? Here, let me just buy her a crystal. Yeah, I'll buy her a crystal since I can't afford the Dead Sea Scrolls. He buys her a crystal and gives her love cards. A touch, a kiss, a squeeze, a tug. What? What are you tugging on? But anyway, July 15th, Watts called Shanann and they held an 8-minute conversation. Shanann called Watts again, and then again, here we see Watts on July 15th. Chris calls Vivint and held a 20-minute conversation. He entered Vivint into his contacts following the call. He entered Vivint into his contacts because he's going to be calling Vivint quite frequently, it sounds like. Let's go ahead and add that to the calendar. On the 15th, he called Vivint. All right. It is right here. That is when he spent 20 minutes on the phone with Vivint. Chris Watts calls Vivint and also puts them in his phone. Okay. Now, Shanann asked Chris to call Vivint earlier that month, so on the 6th. And here we have him calling Vivint again on Sunday the 15th. Okay, Watts took 3 images of his basement. What? For what reason? Watts took 3 images of his basement from 3 different perspectives to capture the layout. Whoa. You guys, I had not seen this before. What does this sound like to you? He just got off the phone with Vivint. Okay? He's telling Shanann that the sensor in the garage doesn't work. Oh, it's not working. Oh, the camera isn't working. Oh, it's not recording anything. Weird. And then immediately after he gets off the phone with Vivint, Chris Watts goes to his basement and takes photos. Why? Why would he need to take photos of his basement after getting off the phone with Vivint? Very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. And look at the way that it's worded in the discovery. Layout, okay? Different perspectives to capture the layout. You're getting perspectives. You're getting a layout. You're getting a lay of the actual basement. Why else would somebody need to take pictures of the basement? Is it to give them to somebody else? Oh, look, here, you can get in through here, or you can get in through this window too. There's also this window here on the side. Or is it to see where's the camera angles? Can we see the camera angles here? What if we move this way? Is there a different camera angle there? What is the reason for him taking photos of the basement? Exactly, Lisa Jones, so that another person can get into the basement. I think we're very clearly seeing here that Chris Watts is making moves in July, mid July, guys. We're looking at mid July, and Chris Watts was already planning the murder of his family. He was already messing with the Vivint camera. He was already messing with the access that Shanann had to her own home. He was already lying about the sensors not working. And at the same time, he's taking photos of his basement. What other reason could there possibly be for this other than to hide The fact that people are going to be in that home, that someone is going to be coming into that basement later on in the week. Who knows, maybe later on in the month. I think it's very clear here with Chris Watts's behavior and what he was doing, that he was already planning on annihilating his family and how he was going to do it by July 15th. This is crazy. And yes, we also know that Chris parked Shanann's car on the street constantly. Those 5 or 6 weeks, Chris parked the Lexus right outside. Was it so that he wouldn't trip up the sensor in the garage? Is that the reason why? Is that the reason? So that the sensor wouldn't go off every time that he opened the garage door and drove the Lexus to Nicole's house or to Nicole's apartment or wherever they were going? The dunes, camping, hiking, the restaurant, Bandamere Speedway, the museum, all these places. If he was driving the Lexus, he obviously didn't want to park it in the garage because it was going to trip the sensor every time. And it would give Shanann a notification that he was leaving with the car. And so it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, he's lying about the sensor, and that's why he's parking the car, the Lexus, across the street. He wants to use it and he doesn't want to trip the sensor. And he doesn't want to let Shanann know that he's driving the Lexus. Very interesting. All right, we have that on. Okay, I think he calls Vivint, but I think we also have to put here something else. So he calls Vivint and then basement photos. Oh my goodness. All right, basement photos. All right, so now we have both in there. So he's calling Vivint and he's got the basement photos all at the same time. Shanann called Chris and they spoke for 6 minutes. And then Chris took 3 more images of his basement. So 6 total. I believe he was documenting the work he spent cleaning and organizing the basement as evidence in the photos. Okay. So the investigator that was in charge of putting this together put in their 2 cents. They believe that the reason that Chris took these photos were as evidence that he had spent the time cleaning and organizing the basement. I don't think so. I don't think that this is the reason that Chris was taking photos. He did not give a shit. He did not give 2 shits, not a rat's ass, not a single one, about what Shanann was thinking about him in North Carolina. He did not care at all to even answer her phone calls. So there is no way that Chris would spend time cleaning the basement just to prove to Shanann that he was cleaning the basement. I don't believe it. I think that the reason that he's cleaning out the basement, or actually photos of the basement, is because he's getting the layout. Read Nelia's comments. The pics were for the realtor. The pics were for the realtor. Okay. Let's go ahead and pull up the realtor text messages. So we do have the photos, or sorry, not the photos, the text messages. He does say that the basement is still unfinished and no other upgrades. Now, when we look through the rest of the text messages, we don't see any of the photos that Chris took of the basement, and he didn't forward them to the realtor. Right? Here they are. Unless they were forwarded in a different set of text messages that we don't have photos of yet, or maybe I just haven't seen them yet. If you do have them, though, please send them my way. But in all of the text messages between the realtor and Chris Watts, I did not see any of the photos that were sent to the realtor. And so maybe, maybe he was taking them for the realtor, right? Or maybe he was taking them for Nicole Kessinger, or both. It's possible that he's taking the photos and kill two birds with one stone, right? Kill two birds with one stone, why not? Oh, the realtor, I can send these photos to the realtor and I may as well also send them to Nicole Kessinger so that she can get in or whatever. So she can see where the windows are, where I sleep. And these are all the text messages that we have between Chris and the realtor. Again, every text message between Chris and the realtor, we don't see photos of the basement. So he didn't send them to her. But again, we don't know. And it's very possible. So thank you for bringing that up, Nelia. It's definitely very possible that he was sending them to the realtor. Again, the coincidence here is that all of that was done after getting off the phone with Vivint. It was done after he was done talking with them on the phone for 25 minutes. Or sorry, 20. For 20 minutes. And then he starts taking pictures of the basement. Is it a coincidence? Maybe. Maybe he got off the phone and he's like, oh, okay, bye, Vivint. Yeah, no, I got it. It's working now. Bye. Oh, that's right. Now I have to take photos of the basement because the realtor asked me for them. Here, let me go down to the basement and take photos. I don't think it's likely. I don't know. He's not very responsible, you know? He's not here like, oh, let me send photos for my realtor. She asked for them. Oh, no, I'm late. Did I respond to her email? Did I reply to her text message earlier? Oh my God, I didn't. Oh, let me go get those photos for her real quick. I don't think he cared about any of that. But again, we might never know. So now we move on to July 16th. Shanann called Watts and they talked for 5 minutes. Watts took 3 photographs from an Anadarko corporate office in Platteville, one of which was a sunflower near what appears to be his work truck. Okay. So a sunflower near what appears to be his work truck. Is this the same photo that we were looking at the other day? Is this the same photo? Let's go ahead and pull it up. And yes, I do agree. The lack of investigation on this is mind-boggling. It really is. I mean, it's crazy that YouTubers and people on Reddit and just like everyday random people have looked into this case more than what the FBI, the CBI, and Frederick Police Department did. I mean, it's crazy. All of this is possible only because of us, the public. We requested these. We requested that these files be public. Otherwise we wouldn't even know any of this. We wouldn't even have Nicole Kessinger's video or her interviews had the public not requested these be public. Okay, let's go ahead and see the photos here. If I can find them. If not, we'll just go ahead and move on. But we do have those photos that Chris was sending to Nicole Kessinger, so we'll just have to compare those as well and see when they were being sent. But here, the investigator added, this would not be the last time he took photographs of flowers. I suspect he took these far and shared them with Kessinger. She has an affinity with flora and had a wide assortment of flower pictures in her phone. Huh. So Nicole Kessinger is familiar with flora. Send me the photos of the dandelions, Chris. I'll tell you what color they are. The color is yellow. Yeah, yellow. It's spelled YELLOW. You should read, Chris. You should really read. That's probably what Nicole Kessinger was doing. Chris is like, oh, what color is the sky? And he'll take a picture and send it to Nicole. And Nicole's like, that's baby blue, Chris. Also known as sky blue because of the sky. Yeah. You should read, Chris. But apparently that's what he's doing. He's sending photos of the flora and the fauna of Survey Ranch or Anadarko or wherever, right? The parking lot at Anadarko. Oh, look at this little leaf. I'm going to send it to my girlfriend. It reminds me of her. The same day, July 16th, Watts resumed his internet search of Dave Bunk minerals. Here we go again. He's looking for more minerals. If he's not looking for Dead Sea Scrolls or flowers, he's looking for minerals for Nicole Kessinger. Oh, you're going to do your little witchcraft on me? Okay. How many minerals do you need, Nikki? And here we go. Watts searched Google topics like touch up paint bottles, Toyota. There we go. Toyota dealership, Highway 85. Toyota dealership in Brighton. Because Kessinger owned a Toyota, yes. Nicole Kessinger owns the Toyota, and here we are. Touch up paint bottles for the Toyota is what Chris Watts is searching for her on July 16th. And I think we already have this. Yeah. Chris Watts searching for paint for Nicole Kessinger. Did she chip her truck? I wonder what happened. What happened? Did she chip it when she was backing up into the Bandimere Speedway? She thinks she's part of the Speedway herself, and she's like, meh. She backed up so fast, going 55 miles an hour, backing up into her parking lot, and she crashed into the other car. And that's why she needs paint now. She's like, look, Chris, I go fast too. Crashing into everything. And Chris is like, oh, that was really fast. Oh, Nikki, your car is messed up. It's okay. I'll fix it for you, though. I'll get you some of the paint. So now he's looking up for paint for the car that she messed up backing up into the parking lot. Of course, not really. That's just a joke. Shanann and Watts exchanged several calls, holding 30-minute conversations. All right. And then here we go. We are going into July 17th. And we are seeing now the brown bathing suit. Hi, Chris. Do you like my bathing suit? Yeah. I got it at Target. Yeah. It was in the discount. Yeah, it was in the discount rack. You know, like in the front in the beginning when you walk in, there's like a bunch of discount stuff. Yeah, it was way at the bottom. I had to take off all of the dust and all the dust bunnies. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it probably wasn't even on sale anymore. They probably used it as a rag to clean off all of the stanchions. But she got it on a clearance. That's how she got it. And that's what we're seeing here. July 17th. I think it was Daddy Dwayne Kessinger's truck, and Kay pulled up in front of Watts' home that morning. She said she didn't know what type of car he drove. I wonder if he knows that she is fat now. Ban the brown bikini. Yes. Yeah, she got it at the dollar store. The brown bikini, guys. She found it. It was at the bottom. It was way in the bottom. They were using it as a rag. The employees, they just don't have anything to clean. And they're like, oh, guys, we open in 10 minutes. Oh, hold on, but I have to clean up all this dog poop There was a dog here last night when we were closing. Yeah, the customer brought their dog in and the dog took a shit, so we just need to wipe it down. Just grab that ugly bathing suit off the rack. Just it's okay, just damage it out. No one's gonna buy that ugly ass bathing suit anyway, just damage it. Yeah, pick up the dog shit with that bathing suit, it's okay. Hurry, hurry, we're opening. You know what? You don't have time to throw it. Just tuck it underneath. It's fine. No one will find it. It's okay. The same day, Nicole Kessinger shows up and she's like, "A brown bikini! Oh my God. It's my lucky day. 80% off. Oh, and huh, it has a weird scent. It kind of smells like me a little bit when I get out of the shower. I don't know. I kind of like it. I think it was meant for me. Yeah. This bathing suit and I were meant to be. That's how she ended up with the bathing suit, in case you guys didn't know. But anyway, guys, we are going to continue this in our next live stream. We are going to continue this later. We have quite a lot to go. Look at this. It goes on for a long time, but we have gone through a few pages. We've gone through a lot of pages actually, and we have included a lot of things into our calendar. And so we are making progress. I'm very glad that we are looking at the phone data and that we are comparing and adding things to the calendar. That way, it gives us a better picture of what was going on in this relationship during this time.